You are not your depression. Let that sink in for a moment. You are not your worst day, your darkest thought, or your lowest moment. You are the person who is experiencing them. And that difference is powerful. One of the most painful parts of depression is the identity trap. It whispers in your ear that this is just who you are now. Broken, tired, hopeless. And it's easy to believe that, especially when every day feels like a fight to simply exist. But stop for a moment and really think. If you can notice your sadness, that means there's a part of you that isn't the sadness. There's a witness inside you. That part is still alive. That part is aware. That part, no matter how buried, is your light in the dark. You see, before we talk about hope, before we talk about healing, we have to talk about identity. Because if you let depression become your identity, hope doesn't even stand a chance. Hope can't survive in a mind that believes healing is impossible. So today, we start by separating who you are from what you're going through. Depression is not your personality. It's not your future. It's not your soul. It's an experience, a real, painful, often brutal one. But it is not who you are. Think of it like this. Imagine standing in a storm. The rain is hitting your face. The wind is loud. You're freezing. That storm feels like everything. But even then, you're the one standing in it. You're the one surviving it. And just like all storms, this one will pass. Hear S1, small shift that can change everything. Instead of saying I am depressed, try saying I'm experiencing depression. Instead of I am hopeless, say I'm feeling hopeless right now. It might seem like a small detail, but the words we use shape the way we see ourselves. You are not claiming depression as your identity. You're observing it as an experience. That gives you room to breathe. And sometimes, even a little space can be life-saving. Now, I want you to try something with me. Say this out loud, or type it in the comments if you're comfortable. I'm going through this, but this is not who I am. Say it again slowly. Let it settle in. You've made it through so much already. Think about that. You've survived things you thought you wouldn't. You faced mornings that felt impossible. And even on the worst days, you're still here. That's not weakness. That's quiet, unshakable strength. You are not broken. You are not beyond repair. You are tired. You are hurting, but you are still breathing. And as long as you are breathing, change is still possible. Maybe right now you don't see a way out. Maybe everything feels stuck, but your life is not over. It's not even close. This is a chapter, not the end of the story. Don't forget that. And maybe hope isn't this big magical feeling today. Maybe it's just the smallest thing, like getting out of bed, taking a shower, drinking a glass of water. These aren't small wins. These are powerful acts of resistance. They're proof that you're still fighting. So let's start small. What's one thing you did today that you're proud of? Even a little? Share it in the comment. Maybe it's as simple as I got up or I made coffee. Those things matter. They are evidence that you are still showing up. You are not alone. You are not the storm. And this moment does not define you. This is where we begin. This is the first spark. Let's keep going. You ever feel like hope is something reserved for other people? Like no matter how hard you try, no matter how many times you stay positive, it just doesn't land. That's not your fault. That's what depression does. It makes the future look like a wall instead of a path. And the worst part, the guilt that comes with it, you might look around and see people smiling, living, pushing forward, and you wonder, why can't I feel that? Then the self-blame creeps in. Maybe I'm just not trying hard enough. Maybe I'm too weak. But listen to me. You are not weak. You're exhausted. There's a difference. Hope doesn't die overnight. It fades slowly. Sometimes through disappointment. Sometimes through heartbreak. And sometimes because the pain has just gone on too long. But just because you can't feel hope doesn't mean it's gone. Think of it like a seed buried underground. Just because you can't see it sprouting doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes things are growing where you can't see them. And if you're watching this right now, you already did something powerful. You reached out even silently. You're seeking. That's hope in disguise. So let me ask you this. If you could whisper one thing to your younger self, the one that first started to lose hope, what would you say? Type it in the comments, not just for yourself, but maybe someone else will read it and feel a spark again. Here is the truth, we Dante. Hear enough, you Dante need a massive breakthrough to start healing. You need momentum. You don't need to fix your whole life. You need to win today. That might look like getting out of bed before noon, or brushing your teeth after 2 days, or choosing to message a friend instead of isolating. You know what all those things are? Tiny wins. And tiny wins build strength. The problem is, we're so trained to only celebrate the big moments. The new job, the relationship, the finally I'm better than. We forget the power of the in-between. But let me tell you, consistency beats intensity every time. Healing is a daily practice, not a finish line. The more tiny wins you collect, the more your brain starts to believe, hey, maybe I'm not stuck forever. So I want to challenge you right now. What's one tiny win you can aim for today? Doesn't matter how small. Post it in the comments. And if you see someone else's, cheer them on. This space is for support, not silence. One of the hardest parts of depression is when life starts to feel pointless. You wake up, go through the motions, and wonder, what's the point? It is not that you don't want to live. It is that you can't feel why. And that's terrifying. But here's something to hold on to. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you build. You build it by paying attention to what moves you, what calms you, what makes you forget about time, even for a second. It might be music, art, caring for someone else, fixing things, writing, animals, nature, anything. And sometimes your purpose starts with simply surviving so you can find out what your purpose is later. You don't need to have a master plan right now. You just need curiosity. That's where purpose begins. So take a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt even a flicker of meaning? Doesn't have to be big, just a spark. Share it in the comments. Someone else might relate. And that connection is part of purpose, too. Here's one of depression's biggest lies. No one would understand. Or worse, no one would care. It isolates you, makes you think your pain is too much for other people, that you're a burden, that you're better off staying quiet. But listen, you are not a burden. Your story might be messy. Your emotions might be loud, but there are people out there who don't want you to shrink yourself. People who would care deeply if they knew what you were really going through. It starts with letting one person in. Just one. You don't have to share everything. You don't have to have the right words. You just have to speak honestly. Even right now, this comment section, it could be that place. If you're struggling and don't know who to talk to, just write. I need someone to hear me. You'll be surprised. There's a whole community of people who get it, who've been there, and who are still walking through it with you. You're not weird. You're not broken. You're just human. And humans heal in connection. Let's end with this. You have a story to write. And right now, you're in the messy middle. The part that's heavy and uncertain. The part that doesn't make sense yet. But that doesn't mean it's over. You are not just a character in this story. You are the author. And even if the last few chapters were dark, that doesn't mean the rest of the book can't be beautiful. Comebacks don't always look like movie moments. Sometimes they look like deciding to stay alive today. Sometimes they look like asking for help. Sometimes they look like crying on the floor and still showing up tomorrow. You don't need to be perfect to start healing. You just need to believe even a little that you're worth healing. So ask yourself, what would the strongest, most future-healed version of me do today? Even if I don't feel like that person yet, start there. One choice, one page at a time. This is not the end of your story. This is your turning point. Let's write the next chapter together.